Yo, what is going down, man? What is going down? Happy Monday to everybody out there in the world. It's me, Mr. Maine, Mr. 207, and I am here live with the yin and yang of tight ends, the Fantasy Sports Writer Association, three-time 2024 Writer of the Year, the one, the only, Mr. Andrew Cooper. Welcome, bro.
What's up, dude? What an intro, man. That is strong. I'm feeling it. I'm fired up, dude. Happy Monday morning. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So today, man, we just just gonna be chopping it up a little bit about all things football related. But before we get started, just obviously, man, hey, you want to give a quick intro to everybody that doesn't know who you are, which shouldn't be a lot of people.
Nah, dude, it's a big world out there. I still run into people on Twitter. Like, I'll see a tweet and I'm like, dude, that's funny. And it's about football, right?
Yeah.
And I'll click the person's account and they'll have like 120,000 followers and they work at like Underdog. I'm like, dude, how am I still not running across these people? So dude, that's why we got to do these shows, man. Get everybody out in the open. So yeah, I work at Fantasy Alarm. Basically, all my articles are over there. I'm on the YouTube over there. I'm on the Sirius XM show 6 to 8 p.m. Thursday and Friday nights. My wife loves that. Just working every Thursday during the football season. I work every Thursday night, Friday night, and at the crack of dawn Sunday morning. We have a Sunday morning show as well. So just perfect for a date night. Just being locked down every Thursday, Friday, and got to be in early on Saturday. But I mean, that's just how we roll. And like you said, this year we did good. We won the Fantasy Sports Radio Show of the Year. I got Article of the Year and also Football Writer of the Year. So good stuff for us. Good stuff for Boston, baby. Let's go. Scott Fishbowl, Boston, right around the corner. And if I could, I just a couple times on this, I want to shout out Scott Fishbowl is opening up today. We're posting on Reddit, the Fantasy Football subreddit, the contest to get you into the Scott Fishbowl, the biggest tournament in the world. It's how I met John Oman. Like, it's crazy. So you can get in, go over there, make a small donation. And the thing is, it's not just entries in the Scott Fishbowl we're doing. It's like every site you can imagine, you can win a subscription. 4for4, late round draft guide, our draft guide at Fantasy Alarm, everybody. You can win jerseys and you get in the Scott Fishbowl. So check that out. Go to the Fantasy Football subreddit today. This afternoon, it will be up, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's how we met. Was down at Lansdowne, man. I'm actually repping it today, man. The Cheers division. Yeah, man. Yeah. In Fantasy Alarm, man. Great product for sure.
I forgot to mention FSGA mid-size product of the year. So when you said the word product, you got not to harp too much.
No, bro. No, it's all good, man. It's all good. Yeah, that's how we met down there, man. And then, like I said, Mrs. Marable got me the lifetime subscription of Fantasy Alarm about 4 years ago. And like, it took me a second. I was kind of like tying things together. I was like, okay, like Andrew Cooper and Pimp. I'm like, man, like I hear these guys all the time on Sirius XM radio, man. I'm like, all right, like, let's do this, man. So definitely a great product for sure. If you're not subscribing to that or don't have a membership, like, I definitely strongly recommend that. Got a lot of great articles out there for sure. And then the Fantasy Football Expo, man, like that's coming up in August as well. Home run derby downtown Canton, baby. Let's go.
I got to get my revenge on Froton, dude. That curveball, so mean.
Oh,
I got to say, dude, go into these events. I'll tell you, best way to meet people, and you'll realize that even the people you argue with on Twitter about football and on Reddit, like, that's how it goes in fantasy football. There's no game if we all agree on everything, right? Like, we have to just disagree to some level to even have a game to play. You'll find out when you meet these people in person that you have more in common than you have differences. And we're all just chilling. Like, like you go Scott Fishbowl, Boston, it's like everybody is just hanging out. Nobody's big time in anybody. Scott Fish is there, Jeff Erickson, like the whole gang hanging out. So it's just cool stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely echo all that, man. These guys are great, man. You wouldn't think that just kind of like on the outside, you're kind of like nervous to go and, hang out and talk or whatever. But, the more you talk, the more you interact. Like, you see these guys, man, like you said, man, they're guys just like everybody else, man, having beers, talking football, having fun, everything from wrestling to baseball to, everything in between, man. So good times for sure, man. So, all right, man. So we'll get it rolling here for sure. So first thing, man, like, I want to talk to you about is Just first round bounce back, man. Last year, a couple players didn't really live up to their first round value, if you will. A couple names like I'll throw out to see what you think about it. Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, potentially he was kind of on that turn. Brees Hall, and then AJ Brown. What are your takes on those first round guys that didn't quite deliver it, and who do you feel like is going to bounce back next year, man?
Yeah, so I mean, here's the thing. Like the obvious answers are Christian McCaffrey and Brees Hall, right?
Yeah.
Just guys that we like. The thing about those two players is they fall into a category I call never been bad, right? Like, and Saquon Barkley also in that category, never been bad. They've been hurt.
Yeah.
They've been on bad teams,
yeah.
but they've never been bad. Like, there's been no point where I've watched those three guys play and a number of guys fit in that category where I've said this guy's not good at football. It's just a bad situation. So it's easy for those guys to bounce back. But I think the one that I would feel most confident in is actually AJ Brown. And, he finished, I think, wide receiver 20. If you sort by like flex, he was outside the top 40, right? So if you're a first round pick, like that's what you're with my first round pick. I don't care if they're the number one player. I would like them to be, but what I'm shooting for is the safety of not ruining my team, right? Like I need my guy to finish as a top 20 flex player at the very minimum, ideally number one. And again, when I start my draft, what I do every time is I draft all the players I think could be number one overall before I take a quarterback or a tight end, because a tight end has never been a number one flex player. In fact, a tight end picked in the first round has never finished as a top 12 flex player.
Wow.
Except for tight end premium. That's the only format where that's happened. And it's happened essentially once with Travis Kelce. So, like, you got to go for these guys. With AJ Brown, it's pretty simple to me. Regression to the mean, right? And not for him. He could play exactly the same as he did last year. But last year, the Eagles were dead last in pass attempts, right? That only happens when things go essentially exactly perfectly, which they did for the Eagles when they went to the Super Bowl and just ran all over everybody. And it worked for the 49ers the year before last when they were a bottom 3 team in pass attempts. But I think just in general, regression to the mean, nobody here would come on this show, I think, and say, I think the Eagles throw the fewest passes of any team this year. Right. I just, maybe you think they're still going to be run heavy. I think they will be pretty run heavy, but I just think the volume is going to be there. This guy is a superstar and everything kind of lines up for him to just go out, be himself and put together a better season. Not to mention last year he got hurt. So it's as simple as that. This guy stays healthy and they just throw a little more. It's the easiest one for me to say I'm comfortable with this guy. And this year, so far in early best balls, I've drafted him in the second round. So
yeah, no, it's actually funny. That was actually the guy I had as well, was AJ Brown. And just to, to kind of like add a little bit more to it, man, is 97 targets last year, 67 receptions, over 1,000 yards, seven touchdowns. And even being injured 5 times last year, he finished as a wide receiver 10 or higher. He's 27 years old. And the Eagles lost a little bit on defense this year as well. So maybe this might be an opportunity as well, to your point, for them to be able to throw the football a little bit more. But he's still in his prime. And I think obviously you've seen what the formula was for the Eagles, obviously running the football. So making sure Saquon is upright to get to that point. I think that's what they did last year with Jalen Hurts, was just try to keep him healthy and giving Saquon the ball. So I think the roles might reverse a little bit this year, and just making sure Saquon is healthy coming down the stretch, getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, and to your point, 27 years old, people forget that that's the age apex essentially for wide receivers and for tight ends as well. I mean, like Travis Kelce didn't have a 1,000-yard season until he was 27. Zach Ertz didn't have one until he was 28. And when you look at the great wide receivers, a lot of these guys had their best seasons when they were 28, 29, 30 years old. The best all-time seasons are guys that were 28, 29. I mean, Randy Moss had his best season at 30. Marvin Harrison did. Cooper Kupp obviously had that crazy season when he was in his late 20s. I mean, like, this is the age apex. Every once in a while, you get guys that break out at 23, 24. But typically, this is where you get that second contract and become the man. So, like, I'm in on AJ Brown.
Well, guess what, man? Like, that makes me feel a million times better hearing it from you as well, man. So now I'm going to keep on going out, smashing that button on AJ Downtown Brown for sure in best ball drafts and redrafts as well. So appreciate that one, man, for sure. Next topic, man. Second-year quarterback regression. Obviously, last year, really great rookie class last year as far as quarterbacks are concerned. Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, your guy there in Foxborough, Drake May. Even got to see a little bit of Michael Penix last year towards the end of the year. Out of all of these quarterbacks that are going to be second-year quarterbacks next year, who do you feel like is the quarterback that's going to regress from a fantasy perspective?
Yeah, and I think one of the big things with QB regression is tape. Like I think we underestimate the number of people. I mean, the amount of money that goes into scrutinizing what these guys do to pull every little tell out. I mean, like even in high school, we were going through tape and
Mm.
saying, "Look where this guy's foot is. Whatever this guy's foot is here, they run this jet sweep." Every other time he puts his foot in a different spot. But when it's here, every time it's been a jet sweep where he's trying to get ahead of turning around and handing off that jet sweep. And sure enough, that particular guy, shout out Mansfield High School, they ran a jet sweep every single time. And if we're doing that at that level, they're certainly doing it at this level. So they're trying to pick up on every single tick, every single little thing, every single trick that you saw last year, you saw for the first time. They're going to pick up on those. When I look at across the board, I think Jaden Daniels is going to run enough that he can, retain his spot. He could even be the QB1. In terms of just general regression, it's not that I don't like the player. I actually do like the player. But when Bo Nix finishes at QB7, like we're drafting him where we're drafting him, hoping that he repeats what he does last year. I think he can, and I hope he does. But he's the obvious one to pick for regression here because I'm not sure he's the guy that's going to be running over 100 times the way that Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson do. I mean, he ran 92 times last year, so I didn't quite get there. And I do think they could potentially add a running back. They added Evan Engram. They added a lot to assist with the short pass, which at times can take away from the QB run. I mean, you look at what Sean Payton did for years with Drew Brees. If you're Drew Brees and you're standing there, and obviously Bo Nix is a better athlete than Drew Brees in terms of running the front of the ball, but if you're Drew Brees and you're standing there, and 5 feet to your right is Alvin Kamara, and you could just do one of these. I'm doing one of these every time. And with Bo Nix, you're doing one of these probably 80% of the time because you're a little more athletic. But for the most part, you're just going to give it to those guys. So I do think he could. I think he could take a step forward as an NFL quarterback, but regress a little bit for fantasy because again, it's not like he threw for 4,000 yards. A lot of it was based on the rushing. And then you asked about who could step up.
Yeah, out of those guys, yeah.
Yeah, I think Drake May is an obvious answer, but I watched a ton of Caleb Williams. Because I was doing an article on Roman Dunze, right?
Yeah.
And so I watched every route for him. I think Dunze is definitely in a spot to take a step forward. I just really like Ben Johnson's offense. I think it's very quarterback friendly. And when you watch Caleb Williams, there's nothing, and this is why people fall in love with the film, is that mechanically he has a cannon. Right. And he makes incredible plays and he does the right thing. When people talk about Mahomes, he holds on to the ball looking to make a throw downfield, not to run it himself, which is really good for real life NFL football.
Right.
I think that offensive line, they've already made huge adjustments to it. I mean, they spent the whole offseason bringing guys in, Joe Thuney and Drew Dahmer. And I mean, he's not going to get sacked 68 times again. And I honestly think with this guy, with Caleb Williams, he needs to listen to Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner said that he, in his entire career, only threw the ball as hard as he could, maybe 5 times. He's like, he's like, for a quarterback perspective, for me, it's not about how hard you throw, how fast you throw. It's how efficiently you can get the ball to the target in a catchable manner. And when you watch Caleb Williams, he was just throwing absolute lasers over guys' heads, impossible to catch. Like he has all the ability to play quarterback. Now he needs to learn how to play quarterback. And I think that this year he's going to take a big step in that regard and stop throwing absolute seeds. Dude, he was throwing like literally 5-yard passes that would like go through my chest and out the other side. And it's just Josh Allen does the same thing sometimes too still. It's just unnecessary. I think that when they watch the film, because he had so many of those, they're going to say, hey, what do you think happened here? Oh, I threw the ball maybe a little too hard there. Well, what do you think happened with this one? I threw the ball. Probably took a little off that one. Yeah. And I think once you do that as many times as I did watching the film, and I didn't watch every one of his throws. I watched 500 routes for Dunze, which was a lot of his throws, but it was just a lot of that. So I think that Caleb Williams, I think he's going to be a good player.
Yeah. Actually, I'm in on Caleb Williams this year as well. Like I've always
Tip in the chat.
Yeah, what up, man? What up, Tip? Yeah, man. Like I'm in on Caleb Williams as well. Like he's the guy like out of this group. We talked about it a little bit I think we had a Spaces not this Sunday, but last Sunday, and we were just kind of talking about Dak Prescott and him, and I was like, I'm more in on Caleb Williams at this point than I am Dak, because I think one of the other things too is that Caleb Williams, he also gives you a little bit of sneaky rushing upside as well. And I think we know like the pedigree is definitely there. You talked about it with Ben Johnson. They have the players around them, like for sure from a skill player perspective. So it's only a matter of time before that glass breaks, and even with him not living up to expectations, I think for some people's aspect, he still finished I think he finished at QB 16 in total points last year. So, I mean, he's not too far off from being a QB1, and that's somebody like right now in best ball drafts, you can get a lot later, and he's probably he's a very polarizing player for sure. Some people, you either love him or you hate him. For me, I don't have a grudge against the guy. I think he can be a really good football player to all the things that you talked about as far as him throwing the football hard, and those pieces, but he's been bred to be able to play this position. And I truly think that this year, I think he's one of those guys that will take a big step forward. So if you have the opportunity to draft him, go for it. Cause I'm going to as well, unless you're in the draft with me, then don't touch him.
Those are the rules.
Oh man.
I wish my league mates would stick with that, dude.
Yeah, I know, right?
they see too much. No one ever trades me a tight end in Dynasty. I got to start blocking people on Twitter.
I can't imagine why. Oh, man. All right. So for our Cowboys fans out there, or even Javonte Williams fans, like I was a big Javonte Williams guy when he came out of college. I was actually hoping Pittsburgh would have not drafted Najee and would have waited to drafted Javonte, but Javonte Williams and the running backs of this draft class, where's the line for you because the Cowboys, they have to address the running back position. What player creates the line for you in the NFL draft that says, I'm not interested in Javonte Williams?
So here's the thing. And so for me, it's not so much a player as it is draft capital adjacent for me, because in this class, unlike many classes, there are a lot of classes where you go through and you're like, okay, that guy's definitely just a third down back, right? Like the last few years has been a lot of these guys were like 185 pounds, and you're just like they're not going to run between the tackles. This class is the opposite. It's so crazy how many guys are 215, 220, right? So for me, I look at it, and there's actually a pretty clear line in the draft. Unless they move around, which of course they can trade, they can move around. But because they traded their 4th round pick for Jonathan Mingo, and we'll get to see how that's going to pan out.
Yeah.
They have 3 picks in the first 3 rounds. It's 12, 42, and 76. And then they don't pick again until like 100 and something in the 5th round, right? If they use one of those 3 picks on running back, then that tells me that running back is a priority for them. And running back, there are a couple positions that are positions of need when it comes to the draft, right? Like when you draft a player at this position, it means that you're going to start him. When you draft a quarterback, like in the first 10 picks, you're going to start him. If you draft a kicker, if you draft a punter, you're going to start that player. If you draft a linebacker or a running back in the first 3 rounds, and an inside linebacker, not an edge rusher, but an inside linebacker, positions that have a short shelf life, that tells me that is a player that you expect to contribute right away, right? I mean, especially if you're picking an older player that you consider polished. Like if the Cowboys were to go out and draft like an RJ Harvey, who's already 24 in the 3rd round or 2nd round, like what do you think their plan is? To have that guy sit behind Miles Sanders, right? It's not even so much the player, like where I can make a list of players, because in that instance, what you're doing is you're saying, right. So if I were to make a list of players and say, okay, I cut the line off here and Cam Scatterbo is on the other side of the line, but then they draft Cam Scatterbo in the 2nd round, what I'm preemptively doing is saying the Cowboys are stupid, right? And I'm just personally, there's too many guys I respect that create models that are really honestly good at helping to at least create tiers, right? JJ Zacharyson, Dwayne McFarland, Ryan Heath, every one of those people, the number one weighted metric in their model is draft capital. Every single one of those guys. And I'm tired of pretending like it's not. I'm tired of pretending.
Talk your shit, man. Talk your shit, guys.
And it's one of those things where I get it. People got to make a living. And there's a lot of people that their one job, like this is their Super Bowl, right? They are one thing they do is try and figure out things before the draft. And they play Devy and they do all that. I play Dynasty. I play Best Ball. I play Redraft. For me, I don't care about being first. I don't care about getting the best tweet out. I care about being right. So for me, when I sit down and I do my rankings, which you can have your draft be the Sunday of the NFL draft, your rookie draft, because by the end of Thursday and Friday night, when we have the first 3 rounds, you can figure you can have the first couple rounds of your fantasy rankings already done. We're ranking 40 guys here,
Right.
John. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like it's not that hard. You know what I mean? Like, dude, again, that's another divisive topic. Maybe I'll tweet that out with the guy on the soapbox. Ranking 40 rookies is not.
That's it. No more, no less.
I tweet that, people would kill me. Ranking 40 rookies to pick 2, 3, or 4 of them is not that hard, right? But like, it is an art, right? It is tough, but don't ignore draft capital. That's all I'm saying.
So what? So is it? So it's basically the 3rd round for you is where you would draw that line for Dallas in their run game
for virtually every player.
Okay.
Like the hit rates once you get in the 4th, 5th, and 6th and 7th rounds drops to like 5% for wide receivers, 5%. And of course, every once in a while there's going to be a Puka Nacua or an Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right.
But you have to remember within that 5% are guys like Brian Hartline that had 1 wide receiver 2 seasons.
Yeah.
There's guys like Julian Edelman that didn't even play wide receiver. Nobody was drafting him. There's guys like Adam Thielen who was undrafted and didn't break out till he was like 26. There's guys like Antonio Brown who couldn't have screwed up worse in college. Right? He literally got kicked out of Florida International before the school year even started. How do you get kicked out before school? How you get kicked out of school before school started?
How you gonna get fired on your day off?
You got kicked out of school on summer break. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then like a million different things with it. And Tyreek Hill, it's like when you start pulling those guys out, I can name them all. I can name a million of them. Pierre Garçon went to Mount Union. You know what I mean? Like Pierre Garçon's like a top 5 all-time guy in PPR points from those rounds. And he was a D3, is that?
Yeah.
Like, so like you start pulling those guys out of there, the hit rate is like 3%. So like really draft capital is a ton. I didn't want to turn this into that, but like
no, man, no. Yeah. I think it's good, right? Because the people that are watching, and even like for me, just to get some game from that right there, like that's a huge part of it, right? And like you talked about, like you have dynasty people, potentially watching, right? And just kind of identifying like what is that line in the sand? Because like this Dallas backfield, I think it's a place that, ironically enough, last year, it was Rico Dowdle was a guy that went later on, and it feels like we've got like the same kind of vibes again with Javonte Williams, or if they address the running back position here within inside of those first 3 rounds as you talked about. So that might be a place for you to look at and get a running back too. As Rico Dowdle last year, he did finish as a running back too. So if you had him, it actually was a nice ROI because you probably didn't pay a lot for him, man.
And late round running backs in the draft they do have a better hit rate than wide receivers. There's no doubt about that. Like, you've got the Aaron Joneses, but also remember in your dynasty leagues that these guys also get replaced a lot faster. They really do. Guys that hit the teams basically a lot of times, and this is what sucks about the NFL as a business, is that they know that when you draft a guy early, you have to play him. He gets a higher opportunity because, a lot of times the coach isn't the GM. Bill Belichick, when he was the coach and the GM, he would draft guys and then he would just bench them because he doesn't have anybody to report to. He didn't have anybody to like any feelings to hurt. Right. But, like those guys get a better opportunity. Also, what happens a lot of times is when teams draft a running back in the 5th round that he runs for 1,000 yards, they say that was great. What if we draft a good running back? Right. So like guys like James Robinson and Damian Pierce and Tyler Algier and Michael Carter with Jets. Like everyone was pumped on Michael Carter, and then they drafted Breece Hall in the 2nd round, and everyone said, "Oh,
yeah."
You know what I mean? Over. Like, it's okay. That was pretty short. Like, so you got to be very careful with that. That's why for me, if they draft running back in the first 3 rounds, I'd be very interested. If they don't, Javonte Williams could have a legitimate shot here. And again, Jerry Jones is the kind of guy that could sit there and say, "Hey, we made it work with Rico Dowdle. Why don't we make it work with Javonte and Miles Sanders?"
Word. All right, I dig that, man. I dig that. All right, so next thing we got here is Dylan Sampson, my boy from UT. Shout out GBO. And then Trayvon Henderson, who's another guy that, man, like I really, really like a lot. I remember watching him play at Ohio State and seeing him I believe it was like his freshman year, seeing him and like, man, I was like, yo, this guy's jumping off the screen. Like this guy is going to be a player. You talked about draft capital. You talked about that piece of it. For these two guys here, what are two ideal landing spots for them that you think they would be able to have a big impact?
Yeah, this is my bread and butter right here. This is
Let's
what
get it. Let's get
it. Scheme is my business, dude. This is what I love talking about. And this is where, again, for running back, it matters more than other positions. For quarterback, it doesn't matter at all. I just think that good quarterbacks will eventually figure it out, right?
Yeah.
With tight end, it matters. Like, so the order of which it matters, quarterback doesn't matter at all. Wide receiver matters, but these guys find a way to shoot their ways out of town. AJ Brown got out of town when he needed to, right? DeAndre Hopkins. You know, it's like some of these guys, it's just like whenever they want to leave, they get to leave. Devontae Adams gets to leave whenever he wants to leave, right? So like, so it matters less there. For tight end, it matters some, obviously for the short term, but they have a longer age apex. Running back is very important because like, look at Najee Harris.
Oh man,
he got picked. They picked up his 5th-year option, and he was a little bit older prospect. He just got to leave on his first free agent contract, and he's 28. Is he 20?
Yeah.
28 years old. It's like
27. I think he might be
27. Dude. So it's like just crazy, man. So like where you land is so important. So for Trayvon Henderson, I'll go first because the answer for him is very easy for me. Did you say you want 2 landing spots for each or just one?
Yeah, you can give me 2, man.
Okay. So for Trayvon, the number 1 with a bullet landing spot is the Denver Broncos. No question. Over any team, like, because this guy's got hands, right?
Yep.
And and Joe Lombardi. Okay, I went back and looked at this. I pulled up every offensive team that he's been anywhere on the coaching staff. Okay. So that's 18 straight years. All 18 of those years, that team has finished top 5 in passes to the running back.
Woo.
I double checked it. Every single one, bro. Every single one. And dude, this is going to blow your mind. This is not just one player, it's the running back position as a group. Take a guess how many targets the running back position group averaged under Joe Lombardi during those 18 years.
18 years.
Average. So the average.
I'm going to say, I'm going to go 1,400.
No. Just average. So like average per year.
Oh, average per year. I'm going to go.
Targets to the running back group.
Okay. I'll go 95.
164.
Whoa!
I swear, I thought I didn't think it was possible. Some of those backfields got over 200 targets. A Lions backfield with Reggie Bush, Joique Bell, and Theo Riddick got 174. Like he just loves throwing to the running back. He loves it. The Broncos, every year with the Broncos, they've been top 5 as a group. Every year with the Chargers, they had Eckler. Every year with the Lions, they had Alvin Kamara. So if this guy goes to that team, man, like locked in. RB2, like you could put, if people put Janty on a pedestal, this guy has to be RB2 if he goes. Anyone that goes there is RB2. If they pick up a running back in the first round at 20, that's the RB. I mean, if it's Genty, then sell a kidney if you have to. Because like target's a king for the running back, and that's huge. The other one I would say would be the Raiders. You know what I mean? It's just because it's that's another place where targets are available for our guy Samson, because he is a film grinders guy, right? Like he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Right. But he's not particularly big. And didn't really catch a ton of balls, but I think he can. I can't think he can do those things. He needs opportunity first and foremost, right?
Yeah.
And anytime, like if you can put explosive guys like that in a backfield with guys that aren't that like intriguing, I think that's the best way to do it because they can rise to the top like Bucky Irving did. So I think like the Browns is a spot. If they don't bring Nick Chubb back, like if you put him in a spot like that, he would shine. You put him, the Raiders would be another one.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, like, or maybe even as much as I hate to say, because I do like Ramondre, maybe the Patriots.
See, all right, yeah, that's a place that like was talking running backs on our show a few weeks ago, and that was a place that like was really interesting to me because I know they just paid Mondre, but like, man, like that's definitely an opportunity to bring another guy in there as far as like from a playmaker side of things that could really help boost that offense for sure. And like I agree with you with Denver. I think Denver is definitely could be a great landing spot for Henderson. But I had Samson maybe going to Denver just kind of as you talked about, right? To be able to be somebody because that running back room is a little bit mid. A lot of bit mid, actually. A lot of bit mid.
Entirely mid.
But I had those guys. And then, like, I'll throw out a couple of other landing spots, man. Maybe, like, in the second round or so just to kind of get your feel on it. But like, what about a team like the Houston Texans for these guys? Like,
Yeah.
Joe Mixon is a little bit older in the tooth, longer in the tooth. We don't know what we have like with Damian Pierce, which was a guy that like I was to the moon with 2 years ago, which it just hurts my heart to even like talk about it.
And you get those angry, start winning those angry run awards, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, like Denver and Houston were two places I looked at. I think, I'll throw out a couple of other intriguing places
Yeah,
just
I
to
love
see
thinking
like,
about it.
yeah. What about a place like Cincinnati for either one of those guys?
Right.
That's a really interesting spot. And then the New York Giants. I think that's another interesting spot as well. I know they have Tracy there, and Singletary.
Now you're hurting. Now you're hurting feelings. That's what you're doing now.
Yeah, what's going on?
Chase Brown. Well, the thing is, just there's people out there. Chase
Yep.
Brown finished as a top 10 running back last year, and people are just like, that's the thing with Chase Brown is that if he survives the draft, there's no spot that's really too high to draft him because the Bengals are a team where you can just fall backwards into the end zone. And like we've seen it before, like Jamal Williams scored 18 touchdowns with the Lions.
Yep.
Right. Raheem Mostert scored 1 million touchdowns. LeGarrette Blount scored 18 touchdowns and he caught 7 passes. Like, is it because LeGarrette Blount is awesome or is it because Tom Brady is awesome? Like that's what I'm saying. Like Joe Burrow is awesome. They got Chase. They have Higgins. Gesicki's back. The defense is terrible. I mean, like the conditions for the running back for that team to be really good are all there. So for fantasy, for sure. Like even James Cook on a team where Josh Allen scored 12 touchdowns, he scored 18, right? Like, so whoever the running back there is going to be a star. Now with the Giants, I have a soft spot for Tyrone Tracy. I really like the player, but he's the exact kind of guy that you have to be cautious with because he was a 5th round pick. And because they look at it and they say, hey, now we have a guy that can catch passes, but maybe we want another guy for first down. I'm hoping that they look at him and he can be the next like Eckler or Kamara, where he does have good contact balance. Obviously, he's a converted wide receiver, and they just got to give him the shot. But we have to remember, like, Alvin Kamara was in the backfield with Adrian Peterson and Mark Ingram, and he had to fight his way out. And Austin Eckler was in the backfield with Melvin Gordon. He had to fight his way out. So the fighting for Tyrone Tracy might just be beginning now.
Yeah. Dig that, man. Dig that. All right. So now getting ready to talk about, some of my boys now, because I want to hear your takes on this right here. Getting ready to talk about George Pickens and DK Metcalf. How could their potential fantasy value be impacted if the Pittsburgh Steelers address the quarterback position in the NFL draft?
Yeah. So the assumption, obviously, I think personally, Cam Ward would be the best option, but everyone in the world, the worst kept secret is that he's going to go with the Titans, right? I mean, that's always seems to be the case. But so if you're talking about redraft, right, this year, then you just want the most polished possible guy. And there's really not a ton of that. Even Cam Ward's not super polished, but Shadur Sanders would be, he would be the best bet. The thing with Jalen Milroe is that you have a rushing quarterback that is the closest thing we have to a true rushing quarterback. These days I split quarterbacks into 3 categories.
All right.
Pocket passer, mobile QB, rushing QB. Right?
Okay.
So it truly for me is 3 because pocket passer, we have pure pocket passers. Yeah. There are guys that have no interest in running. We have Jared Goff, we have Matthew Stafford, right? Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, right. But then you have a group that I call the mobile quarterbacks. These guys, they run for, you can pencil them in for 250 to 400 rushing yards, right?
Right.
And a couple rushing touchdowns. Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, right? Like these guys can move. Patrick Mahomes,
right?
I would say he can move. He doesn't think about Mahomes and Caleb Williams, and also Shadur Sanders does this exact thing, which is the run is often there.
Yeah,
but they don't want to run. They want to heave it.
Yeah,
they want to chuck it. You know what I mean? That type of player would be great for Pickens and Metcalf. A guy that Russell Wilson type that gets out of the pocket but doesn't want to run. He wants to throw.
Yeah. No,
Jalen Milroe would be bad, and then you've got guys that are like project, like Jackson Dart. As much as I like him, 21 or 22 years old. Like I think he's a guy that is best served to sit for a couple years behind somebody, right? if he goes to, I would like to see him sit behind Geno Smith or Derek Carr and then take over eventually.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping big time, man. Like Shador Sanders, I'm hoping that he falls. That was kind of like my dream a few weeks ago. I was like, oh man, like I'm kind of going through things. And I'm like, all right, well, if he gets past 9 at New Orleans, then like there's an opportunity there because all the other teams, from 9 down, they don't necessarily need a quarterback, right? So I'm like, okay, that could be a thing. And I think like Shador Sanders, man, like kind of to your point, I think he catches a bad rap. I think he's been bred to play quarterback, like obviously going and like working with Tom Brady. I think it's just more about obviously like how he carries himself, which I think like you would want any NFL quarterback to have that type of confidence. I just think like obviously like he vocalizes it, right? And I think there can be a time and a place for it.
But still, his dad was the same way. He's just doing what his dad did, and you know what? When you're awesome, no one cares, dude. Look at the NBA, dude. Like the NBA, right? It's like, dude, no one cares whether you have a good or bad attitude. I mean, like the best players, like John Morant's throwing grenades.
Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards, Nikolai Jokic, he just cares about horses. He didn't care about that stuff. He's the best dude in the world. So it's like, and same with the NBA. Have you ever heard the Deion Sanders Giants draft story?
Oh, absolutely.
Where he's like, they're like, do this test, and he's like, what picks do you have?
Yeah, I ain't gonna be there.
yeah. Of course, I'm not doing that. So like, it's the same thing, man. It's I'm not worried about that. It's like, and he's not really getting himself into trouble. His brother might have some issues with that, but like, or at least like the bankruptcy thing or whatever. But like, he's not doing that. He's it's not like he's like out of the club and stuff. So I'm not really worried about him in that sense. And I think if people want to fade him for that, then that's you guys going to end up benefiting. The one problem you guys have is that you don't have a second round pick. So you get it. If you want to move up, it's next year's pick, right? To get the quarterback,
they got a boatload of picks next year, man. I think they got three thirds. I think for next year because of all the movement with Justin Fields and Najee.
Hey, John, let me spoiler: thirds ain't gonna do it, dude.
No, fair enough.
If you want to move up, it's that first.
Fair enough.
Your next year first. I think your next year first can get you guys up to like where the 49ers are, maybe?
I think that's like 13.
Maybe 11.
Okay. All right. I knew it was in that area.
Maybe a first in one of those thirds.
Okay.
Because, I mean, right? I mean, you're not trading into the top 10. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
there's no amount of thirds you can package up to move up and get Sanders. That's what you were.
Hey man, hey, listen, man. Based off of your article, it's all about how you present it, right? So if so if they present it that way, maybe we might have something, man. Maybe we might have something.
What is it?
Oh shit!
You read the never split the difference, dude. I think the other teams are looking.
I checked it out, man. I was like, okay, like all right.
I don't know if the other teams can buy that one, but I'm creating a straw man here.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you trade away your first, then you can take those thirds next year and move up and back in the second, and now it's not so bad. So. I think if he's there and that's the guy they want, they should do it. I do know that they do like Jalen Milroe. They met with him a bunch, so. And I think you could be happy with that as a fan, though. It's just that it's not the best thing for the wide receivers.
Listen, as a fan, man, I just want somebody that can play quarterback, that's competent, that's going to actually get us a win in the playoffs and more. That's all I want, man. We've been rolling with C- students here, man, since Big Ben. So I'll take whatever they're throwing out there, man, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. The Steelers. It's so, as a fan, it's so hard to complain. Yes. You got all the rings, and you never have a losing season. But other fans don't want to hear it. Right?
No.
But at the same time, you don't get anything for going 500 for 17 straight years.
No, and then subpar quarterback play, man. Like I could go on and on about this, man. The misses in the first round with him, all the misses dating back to the Devin Bush, that miss right there. Drafted Najee. There in the first round, Edmonds, like there's a lot of misses there for them in the first round, and not to go on this complete soapbox, but I think that's another element of it for Steeler fans is like, in what world can you miss in the first round in all these places, have a Hall of Fame quarterback that retires, and still be relevant for the playoffs, and still have something to complain about? That's one of the things that obviously as a Steelers fan, it's mind blowing to me.
You know how they do it, dude. The standard is the standard.
Oh man, I got the sweatshirt too, man.
That's how they do it, dude. That's how they
Man.
do it. But
No.
and that's you know what? It gives you hope though. It gives you hope that if you can do it with the bad pieces, you know what I mean? This guy's hitting home runs with a wiffle ball bat, then he's hitting he's in doubles. He's in singles and doubles with a wiffle ball bat. You get this guy the torpedo bat, and Mike Tomlin's gonna be back to winning, back to winning championships.
Facts. All right, so moving on here. Calvin Ridley, man. This is for all my folks back home, man. All my Tennessee Titans fans. Want to, touch base with you on this right here. Calvin Ridley and the fantasy impact with Cam Ward. You mentioned a little bit earlier in the show. Worst kept secret in football right now. Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans. What do you think this does to Calvin Ridley's fantasy value?
That's great news, honestly. Yeah. Truly. Because with Cam Ward, the concerns that people have are that he's like a Jameis Winston type. In fact, people are saying that this is like a Jameis Winston Mariota class where we're debating back and forth about these two guys at the top, Sanders and Ward, and at the end of the day, we'll say, who cares? Well, if in fantasy football land, I care. I care. And you know what? Winston over Mariota all day long.
Guaranteed.
Answer, right? And the problem with this guy that people have is, he holds onto the ball and then he chucks it up for grabs, or he tries to play hero ball. Good. Play hero ball. I don't care if the Titans lose. I don't care if the Titans lose 15 games.
Right.
As long as he's throwing the ball up for grabs. And Jameis Winston managed to throw 30 touchdowns the year that he threw 30 picks. And, Chris Godwin was a wide receiver 2 overall. And Mike Evans always had 1,000 yards.
Right.
But I had no problem with, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
No.
Hell yeah. You know what I mean? That's my answer. Hell yeah. Yeah. Good luck to the young man. I hope that he wins some games. But as long as he's letting it fly, and Ridley and maybe who knows who my mock draft, I have them taking Ward in the first round and then trading back up to get a wide receiver. Now I have Luther Burden there, but because I have him sliding a bit in my draft. But anybody there, especially what if they go and they trade back up and get like Matthew Golden, who's a field stretcher, and just is not going to command 120 targets, right? But he's going to open things up for everybody. I think Ridley's going to be just fine, man. Unless this guy completely face plants, but I think that he's, from what I've seen of this guy, the problem isn't throwing the football.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be fine.
Yeah, no, and with Ridley, he's been 1,000-yard receiver with a lot of really bad quarterbacks, man. Obviously he had the combo of Levis and Rudolph last year. Matt Ryan, that was probably his best situation. And then, Trevor Lawrence, that was not really, hasn't been the best version of him for sure. So I'm with you, man. I think it's going to be really positive. That was somebody I had a lot of last year. And I think I'll go back to the well again with him this year. Just doesn't have a lot of mileage either. So, all right, dig that.
Yeah, definitely had plenty of time to rest up. He was a late prospect. Late prospect had some time off. So yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're a believer in wear and tear, he really doesn't have a ton of it.
Damn. All right. No, you may have addressed this, but I'm hitting this for all of my Pats fans here, man. Stephon Diggs and Drake May. Talk to me about this combination here. I know Steph Diggs last year was having a pretty good season before he got hurt in week 7 with CJ Stroud. I mean, me personally, I think he's still got a lot of game, and I think Drake May. I wasn't a really big fan of his coming into the draft process, and obviously watching him play when he got the opportunity, I was like, okay, I do believe that there's something there. But Josh McDaniels is back in town now. Give me your thoughts on this combo here, and if you think they're going to be effective from a fantasy side of things.
Yeah, I think it's a smart thing from the real life NFL side of things. And people say Stephon Diggs has a bad attitude, whatever it is. But the reality is that it's so hard to judge players from the outside. And it also becomes difficult to judge players from the inside if you don't have high caliber players, right? When you have Larry Fitzgerald, it's so easy to bring guys in and stand them up next to Larry Fitzgerald and say, this guy is at least good enough to be on the field with this player.
Right.
Last year with the wide receiver group, you didn't have anybody that was a litmus test, I like to call it, right? So now you have that litmus test where it's okay, people say Stephon Diggs is washed. Well, if Stephon Diggs is washed, then every player in this room that's worse than Stephon Diggs needs to be out, right?
Right.
Like he needs to be out. And the thing is, Diggs was on pace for 100 receptions last year, not 100 targets, 100 receptions, right? Like he wasn't getting a lot of yards after the catch, but like this guy has sure hands, right? Sure hands to the point where Josh Allen, when he came out, had a completion percentage in his rookie year of 52%, which is bad. And his sophomore year, it went up to 58%, which is literally going from terrible up to unacceptable, right? Like 58% is like it was like good for 32nd in the league.
Yeah.
And then third year, Stephon Diggs comes and it jumps to 68%, right? 10%, right? I can't even do the math. 16%, 16% from when he was a rookie. It's like this guy can catch the football. Okay. So you bring him in, and now you look around at everybody there, Demario Douglas and Javon Baker and Jalen Polk, and you say, this is now the bar.
Yes.
Right. You need to be the second best player besides this player. And if you're better than this player, then we'll extend you.
Right.
But like you need to be the second best player besides this player to get on the field. Because we have Hunter Henry and we have Austin Hooper, and we've got all these guys that last year honestly did their job, and you guys did not do your jobs. So having that guy in there is great. Having him in there as a guy who, and I have to say this as a Patriots fan, has almost won something.
Yeah.
But having a guy in there that has won some things,
yeah,
some things
right,
that are potentially meaningful to some players, I guess, if you want to hang those type of banners, but has won a division before, it's like having that guy in there is a good thing. And I think at this age, I mean, he still is kind of a troublemaker. There's no question he's getting into all sorts of weird stuff off the field,
Word to Cardi B, let's go.
Cardi B, whether it's Cardi B or he's like at some, fashion event wearing fortune cookies on his feet or whatever he wants to do, like at least like he knows what it's like to be a professional, to get yourself ready to play. In fact, as far as like if he's doing stuff off the field and then playing this well on the field, he is a master at getting ready to play. Yeah. So he can really show these guys how to do that. I think for fantasy right now, he's definitely a pick because he's easily the best pass catcher on the team. And we like the quarterback all of a sudden. So I have no problem picking him. And again, they gave him a bunch of guaranteed money extension. So the doctors must be giving the thumbs up on the knee.
Dig that. No. I like Steph Diggs, man. I've always been a fan of his, for sure. And to your point, man, I think like it's not the same. I guess it's not the same situation as it is in Pittsburgh. But like you talked about, like those younger guys, and I think that was one of the things with George Pickens is like there wasn't anybody in that room to be like, yo, this is how you go be a wide receiver. This is how you carry it. This is what you do. Right. So I think for for the younger pups there in New England, I think that's definitely a good move, and I'm with you on that, man.
Do you think Mike Tomlin was like, hit up the GM? He was like, "Hey, give me a wide receiver who could kick Pickens' ass. Just give me anybody that can kick this guy's ass if we need him to." And they were like, "I got just the guy."
Yo, I think like that's the thing though, right? Is like from a professional side of things, I think DK knows how to carry it. He obviously is very passionate on the field. I don't want to say gets into some of the same shenanigans. George Pickens is like out there. He's almost like the John Moran of the NFL.
See, they both get into on field. They've definitely both thrown punches. They've definitely pout. They for sure.
Yeah.
But now, like, they literally turned George Pickens. You're like, you think you're a big dog?
Let's go. Well, here you go, baby.
Me, my friend, bigger dog.
Here you go.
You have a huge dog.
Right? I love it, man. All right, man. So getting towards the end here, but you had a nice article about Kyle Pitts, obviously on Fantasy Alarm. What's the ideal landing spot for Kyle Pitts if he gets traded? I know there was a couple of teams that you had wrote about in the article, but for you, in a perfect world, and before I even go any further, I missed my punch, man. I was going to tell you. Actually, last year I said, you know what? If he don't hit this year, I'm giving him a new nickname, and it's 28, 34, 26. Bust. Let's go.
No.
But like I was a Kyle Pitts truther, man.
True though.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about the bust label at this stage, right? Is that he's had the 1,000-yard season. Well, people don't realize, and again, I mentioned it earlier on the show. For anyone joining late, Travis Kelce didn't have his first 1,000-yard season until he was 27 years old, right? And then he basically never stopped having them. Jack Ertz didn't have his till he was 28. Delaney Walker didn't have his until he was 30. And he was stuck behind Vernon Davis for 7 years. And then he was a tight end one for multiple years after that. Like Johnny Smith and David Njoku didn't break out for like forever. Like Jonnu Smith didn't crack 500 yards until he got to the Falcons, and then he
Right.
just finally broke out last year on the Dolphins. David Njoku got stuck behind Austin Hooper for no reason at all. Like this guy's 24 years old. He's 24 years old now. Even if they keep him for another year, he'll be 25 when he hits free agency. Like we watched it with Evan Engram, and that's basically what the article says, that like Evan Engram, I describe a tight end drafted in the first round, top 5 season for Evan Engram with Eli Manning. Kyle Pitts had a top 6 season with Matt Ryan. Then they dealt with injuries. They dealt with bad QB play. They dealt with a scheme that does not fit them. And then eventually they will find a scheme that works. Evan Engram was doing nothing with the Giants, went to play with Doug Peterson, who actually used him as big slot instead of an inline tight end. And boom, top 5 season. Second most receptions all time for a tight end, laser show, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at Kyle Pitts, like last year, Zach Robinson uses the same scheme as Sean McVay, same scheme as Liam Cohen, 3 wide receivers and an inline tight end. They tried to use Kyle Pitts inline. It didn't work. Towards the end of the year, they just said, you know what, this guy is not an inline tight end. We'll use Charlie Warner. They have no role for this player unless they're going to make him a full-time wide receiver. I think they should trade him. And if they can get anything back for him, $10 million comes off the book, 10.9. So, like, again, another team has to take that risk. But if I'm another team that is interested in using a wide receiver, tight end as a big slot wide receiver, where he actually had good separation scores per fantasy points data suite, like, it's worth it to see if maybe you can take this guy and he can be a star for your team moving forward. A $10 million bet for a lot of these teams that don't have a wide receiver too. The Patriots have money. The Cowboys quietly have the 6th most money of any team, and they don't have a wide receiver too. Right? Like and CeeDee Lamb, you could put him at split end, like a big bodied split end, and have CeeDee Lamb play the slot. You look at the Chargers have Greg Roman orchestrated a top 5 all-time fantasy season with Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews ran 85% of his routes from a wide receiver spot that year.
True.
And the thing about Evan Engram and Kyle Pitts is that when you compare them to blocking tight ends, inline blocking tight ends, they are not good blockers, right? Everyone agrees.
Yeah.
But when you put Evan Engram in the slot, all of a sudden, you know where he graded out among tight ends? If you take every tight end that played like 50 snaps last year, you know where he graded out in terms of blocking grade?
Where?
3rd.
Evan Engram?
Yes, because he's playing slot and he's a better blocker than any slot wide receiver.
Right.
Because he's 6'3",
right.
235 and runs a 4.2.
Yeah.
Right? Like, of course he's a better blocker than Tyler Boyd and Cole Beasley. Right? It's like, of course he's a better blocker than Rondell Moore, Wan'Dale Robinson, right? Like, so when you put him in those matchups, he grades out great. And if you do that with Kyle Pitts the way you should, then he would be a fine blocker. He'd actually be a plus blocker, and he can catch passes just as well as your slot guy. So I think a team like that, or, 2 teams more of a long-term would be the Chiefs, just put them behind Kelsey, or, the Broncos themselves, because again, Evan Ingram's 30 and Kyle Pitts is 24.
Yeah.
So if you want to have that part of your offense forever, then you have Evan Engram play it now. And you have Kyle Pitts learn how to play it. And then when Engram ages out, Kyle Pitts still has half a decade. He's half a decade younger, more than half a decade younger. So there's so many teams that could use this guy. The problem is, just like the Giants with Evan Engram, they picked up his 5th-year option and agreed to give him $10 million guaranteed, and they might not be able to trade that. So he could be stuck, and the breakout might not come until 2026. But I still believe in this player.
All right, dig that. And he's going late too, man, like in best ball drafts.
Yeah. Well, this year, the thing is, this year, I don't even, if he doesn't get traded, this is the misconception and why I got well over 300 comments on Reddit within the first 5 or 6 hours, is that people misconstrued the article for saying that Kyle Pitts is the guy I'm buying for this year. I'm buying him in Dynasty because I believe long-term. If he's on the Falcons this year, I probably won't be drafting him super high in redraft, just because I don't think the Falcons are a good fit for this player. And I think he could end up being a part-time player with this team. Just like I wasn't buying Evan Engram in his last year with the Giants, but I was buying him immediately once he went to the Jaguars, where he finished as tight end 4 and then tight end 2. And then last year he was on pace for like 100 catches again, despite getting hurt.
Dig that, man. All right, man. Well, last thing I'm going to throw at you before we get ready to wrap it up here, man. Who? Because I gotta ask this, man. Because
Johnny, dude.
yeah, you you got to, man, got to.
Yeah.
Who is your early tight end breakout candidate for the years? For the year, for next year.
Yeah.
Obviously, if the tight end room doesn't get more crowded, who is your early candidate?
Right. So that's the game we're playing right now. I always talk with Howard Bender about this. Like, I'm not sure if you're a Star Wars fan or not, but we're
No.
doing now. But so there's a part where they do this thing called the Kessel Run, where they're
Mm,
going in between. I'm not even a big fan, but I've watched the movies
yeah,
where they're going in between all these asteroids. That's what we're doing right now before in free agency in the draft.
yeah,
Right. Like some of these guys could get crushed in the draft, and not just you. You mentioned the tight end room. The tight end room isn't always the biggest problem. It's the wide receiver room because we want our guys to be top 2 targets on the team. The vast majority of difference making tight ends are. So there's a lot of these guys where right now they're sitting in a great spot where they could easily be the number 2 target on the team.
mm,
What's stopping Brenton Strange from being the guy, the second target after Brian Thomas? What's stopping Chigakonkwa? Who's the second best pass catcher on the Titans after Calvin Ridley, in your opinion?
it's chick. Like, are you just talking about just like
Just in
outside?
general, like
Oh,
who's the wide receiver 2 on the Titans? That's I mean,
right.
it's a
Yeah,
crazy question,
yeah,
though.
yeah,
It's a crazy question
yeah,
because, like, I don't know.
yeah.
Treylon Burks, I guess.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like, seriously, though,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah, yeah.
because Nick Westbrook-Akine
He's
left,
gone.
and he played an insane number of snaps. People
Yeah.
don't realize, like, he was playing 90% of the snaps. So, like, you look at that. If those teams add a high-end wide receiver, though, it's a problem, but you also have to remember, the greatest the greatest ways to create leverage in fantasy are betting on rookies, right? You hit on Bucky Irving or you hit on Brian Thomas Jr. or betting against them
Right.
because some of these guys will just face plant. And then where do the targets go? Like if like I'll use the example that won't hurt anyone's feelings except for my own. Nikhil Harry, right?
Right.
If you draft a Nikhil Harry level bust alongside Brian Thomas Jr. or um, alongside uh, Calvin Ridley, and they do nothing, the ball has to still go somewhere. And
Right.
that's where those tight ends thrive. And even good players take time to come on. Look at the rookie year for Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Julio Jones was awesome. Ridley took a while to come on. In fact, he didn't really break out until Austin Hooper got hurt and he missed 3 games.
Yeah.
Austin Hooper got hurt and missed 3 games, and Calvin Ridley got 40 targets over those 3 games. No joke.
Yeah.
But up until that point, Austin Hooper is getting more targets than Ridley. And that's a situation where it's like you just look at it and say, hey, you know what? This rookie wasn't necessarily ready, and this tight end had a top season. So, like betting again, that's the game here. We want to find where targets are available, and we want to bet against rookies. And my advice to anybody watching, listening, use your imagination to find that guy.
Mm, dig that. Dig that. All right, man. Well, I definitely appreciate it, man. We're at the end here, man.
Time flies by,
Dude,
man.
I know, man. I know. So definitely appreciate you hopping on, man, for sure. And once again, man, I'll let everybody know. Obviously, Coop at Coop A Fiasco on the X there, Fantasy Alarm, man. Listen, tell your friends about it, get a subscription, do something good with it. Me at Johnny Main here on Twitter, on YouTube. You can subscribe to the Fantasy Football show channel on YouTube with me and my man Nick Wilcox. Also, I have my own channel as well here. Anything you want to add, man, before we get ready to leave here?
Yeah, where are you doing the Scott Fish Bowl this year? Where are you drafting?
I'm gonna try Boston again, man.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna be. Is Boston. So yeah.
Nice, dude. I'm helping Bob set that up, dude. So we're thinking Patriot place this year. So
Dig that,
yeah,
dig that.
let's go. So
And I just got my ticket to the expo, booked at the
yes,
DoubleTree. So so I'll yeah, so I'll be there,
good.
man. For sure. So yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I got,
the
man.
big plug for me right now, folks, go over to if you want to get in the Scott Fish Bowl, go over to Reddit today, this afternoon. Actually, shortly after this, I'm going to put a post up with all the links, everything you need to know. It's basically you just make a small donation, you fill out a draft prop contest, and we're giving away so much stuff. Wait till you see the list of stuff. It's nuts, dude. Because just everybody came last year. We raised like $5,000. We're hoping to do the same this year or better. And people just came pouring in with subscriptions from like all these every site you can imagine. Football Guys, FTN, 4for4, Fantasy Points, Fantasy Alarm, late round QB, autographed jerseys, the whole deal. It's going to be big. So that's the big plug for me right now. And again, you can get into the biggest fantasy football contest in the whole dang world.
Yeah, and then run into two dope ass people like this
That's
right here.
more than two, bro. More than two.
It's a great time, man.
Great.
It's a great time for sure. Well, man, look, man, that's time for sure, man, with me and Coop once again, man. Much appreciation, man, for you hopping on here, man, and chopping it up with me for sure. But in the meantime, we'll catch you guys later. Have a great Monday, better than mine. I'm out. Peace.